Hellboy is directed by Neil Marshall, and this is the newest adaptation of the Mike Mignola comic book from Dark Horse Comics. This film once again follows Hellboy as he and the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense battle against the vicious Blood Queen as she attempts to reclaim her throne that was taken from her 1,500 years ago. In 2004, audiences were introduced to Guillermo del Toro's vision of Hellboy, and then 4 years later we got Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. I'm actually a big fan of those films, and I have enjoyed them immensely since I was a kid, but I understand that for a myriad of reasons, it's not really realistic to expect a conclusion to that hypothetical trilogy. So I was actually really receptive to the idea of a reboot, because I really love the character of Hellboy, and I think the universe that he resides within, in the right hands, could offer a very distinct and very unique voice in the incredibly crowded landscape that is superhero films. Unfortunately, I didn't much care for this film. And not only is this definitely the worst movie that I've seen this year, but it's also probably one of the worst superhero films that I've seen this decade. I think one of the few positives that I can say about this movie is if you are a fan of Hellboy, and I mean a die-hard fan, then I think you will probably get more out of this movie than most audience members will. There are a lot of references and certain characters in this movie that I'm sure a lot of fans will be very excited to see, and that's awesome. But unfortunately, all of those elements are found within the movie of Hellboy. And though this film does contain certain callbacks and certain references that I'm sure a lot of fans will deeply appreciate, this film is insanely messy and completely lacking in any sort of vision or any real clear idea of how to tell a story, well. There are 5, possibly more, but at minimum 5 sequences in this movie in which a character dives into some very heavy exposition and they cut back to a flashback to show us this exposition. In fact, this movie is littered with so much dense exposition that it honestly started to make me laugh towards the end of this movie because of how frequent it was. Furthermore, this movie has no sense of an organic flow to it. Every single sequence in this movie feels so awkwardly stitched together. Now, reportedly, this film encountered quite a bit of conflict behind the scenes during the making of this film. Now, I wasn't there on set, so I don't know if this was the reason behind this, but there is not a very clear and distinct vision behind this movie. This film feels like it was made by dozens of people without one clear voice shining through. In one moment, you have this almost Resident Evil Underworld-esque type of action movie feel to this film. And then in the next scene, you have Motley Crue blaring while Hellboy wields a 20-foot long sword. I mean, this movie is completely insane, but not in the best way. Not in the way that this movie should be, because Hellboy is a pretty crazy character. Instead, it's like this movie was made by an actual insane person that is just kind of endlessly rambling with no real forethought or vision. It was actually kind of amusing to watch. And it's funny, leading up to this movie, a lot of people were very worried and concerned about David Harbour's performance of Hellboy, and he's not even the 10th worst thing about this movie. He does a totally serviceable job at this character that if he was in perhaps a better film, he would have a much easier job in this role, but unfortunately, he finds himself to be in this movie. I was honestly just astounded watching this movie. I wasn't a big fan of the marketing leading up to this film, but I did not even close to expect that this movie would be this bad. Hellboy is completely incoherent for a vast majority of this film, and though this movie is violent and that there are a few moments of fun action, this film's narrative is so poorly executed that I honestly would have been happier with letting this character lie low for a few more years, because now, unfortunately, I think Hellboy is going to be dead and buried for a while. Now, if you did see this film and you somehow really enjoyed Hellboy, or you saw this movie and you wish that you could maybe see a better version of this character, here are some comic book recommendations to get you started for Hellboy. I recommend that you check out Hellboy Seed of Destruction and Hellboy The Right Hand of Doom. So did you guys see Hellboy? What did you think about it? Leave your thoughts and opinions down below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you liked today's video, and if you did, you can click on the link down below and subscribe to my channel to see more movie reviews and movie related things. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.